Today I want to talk about my thoughts on the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen. So today's footage is of the 6th Inktober piece I used the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen for. But at this point, I've completed 19 inked pieces using this pen for the majority of the line work. Around the 17th or 18th piece, I used up the first ink cartridge, so that should give you a sense of how long that cartridge lasts. Though it should be noted that I do all my big dark washes with Sumi Ink and a paintbrush, since I wanted to save the brush pen for actual, more dynamic brush work. Overall, I've grown to really enjoy this pen, but as I've noticed in some of these previous Inktober, Obscutober videos, it takes a while to get the hang of this pen. I'm not a brush pen expert, but I would probably recommend a different brush pen to a beginner. The range of thick to thin lines is super dynamic, but even with a lot of practice, it's still difficult to get long, consistently thin lines with this brush. I've ended up just using a Micron for specific thin line details because it's just more practical. Also, as I said, I use Sumi Ink for big dark washes. Using this pen to fill in large black spaces is totally possible, but not terribly economical. Dip ink is going to be a better use of your money for that kind of thing, though I suppose if you're on the go or something, you could totally use this pen for a wash, and I see the use there. This is a very juicy pen, and that's part of what makes it a little hard to control. I tried this on some cotton watercolor paper a while ago, and the paper just drank up the ink. It made my lines much thicker than I'd intended, even if I only just touched the very, very tip of the brush pen to the paper. So the ink will act a little differently on different paper. I've honestly enjoyed how the ink has worked on this super cheap sketchbook paper. I got this particular sketchbook for like maybe $5 at Walmart, so yeah. After 19 drawings, I think I found the main limitations of this pen. As I mentioned, it's difficult to get those consistent, thin, long lines, and while it can get a textured dry brush effect, it's simply too juicy for me to use it and reliably get that texture. I do really like that texture for rendering dark hair. In this particular piece, I don't use that technique, but you can see it in some of my other videos. I personally prefer the Micron brush pen for rendering hair. That all said, I really enjoy using this pen. It gets beautiful dynamic lines. I love how it feels in the hand, and I think the simple black barrel design is lovely. The ink itself is also really dark, which is all I want from a black brush pen. So I originally chose this brush pen because Jake Parker, the Inktober guy, highly recommended it on his website. If I were purchasing a brush pen for the first time again, though, I think I might choose something else instead. Mostly, I'd probably look at the Tombow Fudenosuke. Pardon my butchering the pronunciation of that. That said, I've not yet used that particular Tombow pen, so I can only go off of a friend's recommendation. Supposedly, it is a little less soft of a brush, so it's easier to get the hang of. And yes, this brush is very, very soft. That's probably the most unexpected feature that I experienced when I started using it, and it's what made the learning curve for it so steep. Now, I've learned how to use this pen, so personally I'm going to keep using it and work through the refills that it came with. It's definitely an art tool that I look forward to using now that I've gotten used to it. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this pen. I'll happily answer anything I've forgotten to cover. And this artwork that you're seeing, this is possibly my very favorite from Inktober so far. I am still working through the challenge belatedly. This was actually the first sketch I prepared for the challenge, and I just had a very clear concept for it. Usually I just focus on characters in my art, but taking time to think about the prompt Vertigo and focus on a concept instead as I created this was really fun. And of course, I love how the gold accents turned out. Always metallics. I'm currently working on making this into a print for myself, so if any of you have interest in this being available as a print, let me know, and thank you so much for watching. Bye! Bye!